Well, again, welcome back to the MAAC, I guess it is. And so what are your initial impressions as you're getting yourself, situated at Niagara? You've been there a few months now, and how are things going?
It's going really well. I haven't had a chance to watch a lot of film from last season to see some of the teams from the MAAC. We did play Quinnipiac last year when I was an assistant at St. Joe's, so very familiar with them. Played Fairfield a few years ago. And of course, I obviously still follow Marist, was being an assistant under Coach Georges. So it's been a great experience so far. I'm really excited about what's to come at Niagara, and the level of excitement there, I just couldn't even imagine.
What's the greatest challenge for you at this point, as you've got probably 100 things you've got to do?
I think right now just really focusing on getting these kids to do the basics. Our players are working really hard right now. We did not have a lot of workouts with them this summer like a lot of the other coaches because of the timeliness of my hire. So right now we're just trying to get them at a certain skill level that's going to help us in the long run with trying to compete with these top teams.
What has been your outside impression of the MAAC and the level of play in women's basketball as it is right now?
I think the max level is very high. Coming from the A10, it was a situation where you're borderline BCS, but I feel like a lot of the teams in the MAAC could have competed just as well. The top is really strong, the middle is very strong, and we're definitely not sleeping on anyone who may have finished in the bottom half last year. I know we've got some work to do, but the league overall I think is as strong as it's ever been, and with someone different winning the MAAC last year, I think it makes it up for grabs this year.
Your very brief experience at Marist and with Brian, I imagine that at every stop you wind up taking a little from, what did you take from Brian and from your time at Marist?
I took a lot from him. He didn't realize how many notes I was actually taking that are going to help me this year against them. But I learned a lot with the defensive side of the ball, but more importantly, the offense and just not controlling your players and letting them kind of play their game and trusting what you've taught them in the preseason throughout the year and how to play the game. I think a lot of coaches, we try to be control freaks, and one thing I learned from him is you have to let your players play within the confines of not going crazy, but I think what he did well is exploit, what they did well and just kind of let them do it.
Part of what has made Marist so successful over the last decade plus is just the culture. I mean, the winning culture that he developed, you helped with that as well. How important is that for a college basketball program to get that winning culture?
It's huge. I think that was one thing when I was putting my staff together. To be very honest, I wanted to bring people in that had championship experience, because how else are we supposed to get there as Niagara, not having ever been there, not even making a championship appearance? So I felt it was important to surround myself with people who have been there so that these players can understand, what it's going to take, and they're going to know every day how hard they have to work and the time they have to put in to be a champion.
So who are these staff members who you've surrounded yourself with so that our audience gets to know you a little bit better?
The top assistant for me and my recruiting coordinator is Liberty Del Rosario. She's coming from Winthrop. They won the Big South in 2014. She has 4 championship rings, actually one more than me. I'm a little jealous, but nevertheless, she has championship experience. And so does Jeff Dillon, my other assistant that I brought over from Dayton. He was a volunteer / video coordinator for them, but a very successful junior college head coach, which I felt was important to have someone else with the at least same level of experience or more than I had sitting on the bench as a head coach.
Jeff won't remember this, but I sat next to him at the Sweet 16 last year while he was sitting there doing a little scouting, and what a program to draw somebody from where they have built Dayton to what it is now. That would be a tremendous asset, I would think, for you.
Absolutely. He's already brought a ton of ideas that we're all hashing out right now, trying to figure out what we're doing to put our players in positions to be successful.
So who are the players that we should keep our eyes out for this year? And I know you've got a lot of evaluating still to do and shaping and molding, but what does it look like at this point?
Right now, I would say obviously Victoria Rampado is somebody you guys are all familiar with, having made second team last year, all MAAC, and I think she's just going to get better. She's leaned out a little bit this summer. She's really worked hard and knowing that we're going to run an up-tempo style. And I think Kaylee Strumpel is somebody that has had some spots of good play as a freshman last year, but she's going to have a key role for us as a sophomore. Not really sure about the guard spot yet. It's still pretty wide open because a lot of the guards didn't get a lot of time because of McGinnis and Van Leeuwen. But I think they're shaping up to understand, what's going to need to be done, that we got to get the ball to Rampado first, and we'll work from there.
Were you able to get any of your own recruits in?
I did not.
It was too late in the.
You know what? It wasn't late. We could have brought in a couple of transfers, but I realized and recognized the team chemistry that was going on there. And as a coach, that's the one thing you don't want to, you don't want to mess that up. And these young ladies bonded while they did not have a coach, and it made them work even harder. So I felt like, you know what? This is who we're riding with. We have a dozen, and we're riding with this dozen.
Good for you. I like that. I like that. And I'm sure the girls appreciated that too, that you didn't just come in and, this is my team, this is the way it's going. You recognize what they had and are working with that.
Yes, they really appreciate that. They tell me that all the time. And
Yeah.
I said, it's a credit to you guys, because in an adverse situation, you really see character. And what they did was they came closer together instead of separating. So I wanted to reward them for that.
How long were they without a head coach?
I would say it was close to 3 weeks,
Okay.
probably about, close to 3 weeks. So they weren't really sure. They were in summer school. It was kind of like, what are we doing? Erica Harris, one of the assistants that I did retain, who played at Niagara, graduated in 2009. She was running the workouts for the team at that time. And that was another thing, too, with keeping Erica on staff, was just the continuity, with her, having been there as a player and understanding, what it's going to take as well to get to that next level. But she's been a great mainstay for us, and I'm really excited that, she decided to stay with us on staff.
And Jada, where do you see Niagara fitting in this year? I know there's a lot of time, but where do you see?
You know what? I'm really not sure. It's so early. I can't really tell. I think from a talent standpoint, I think we can be in the mix. It's going to be now the change in style of play, because for the 8 that came back, they're used to a different style, and we're going to be more up-tempo. So it depends on how well they pick that up, the shape that they get in, so that we can push the ball up the floor and look to press and do some other things that we want to do.
And what other things do you want to do? What would be your MO as a coach, and what you're looking to do out there?
I mean, offensively, we want to try to score in 6 if we can. If we can't, we're going to, get out and run offense. Defensively, I want to look to press, because obviously with the 10-second backcourt, you want to make sure that you have some opportunities for some easy scores. With the rules changes coming into play, I think all of that's going to help and benefit, our style. I don't think the 4 quarters is going to slow us down at all. I think it's going to help us with, just being able to maintain, our fitness level throughout the game.
With the rules changes coming in, who have you leaned on in terms of perhaps getting advice about how to apply what you do within the confines of the new rules?
I've talked to several different coaches, some that have coached at the highest level, with the WNBA, because they have experienced these rules for a really long time. So it's nice to have someone you can talk to, about that. Also, just even with Jeff Dillon being on my staff and having, in-game situations, special situations that he's dealt with, because he's coached at all levels. So that was something that was important, for me. But it's nice having even like a Patty Coyle that's in our league, to rely on her and maybe pick up the phone and ask her a couple questions. She might not want to hear from me, but, I know that she's somebody that I know I could ask a couple questions and bounce some things off of if I need to.
Have you found a favorite spot on campus yet?
I would say, the building we're in, the Gallagher Center, is pretty cool. Right below my office, we've got Tim Hortons, we've got the grill, we've got Subway now just added in, and there's also some Mexican food down there. So I really don't have to go very far to find, what I need, which is kind of nice.
Yeah, I love the Gallagher Center.
Yeah.
I love the history. Yep. I love the fact that this is where some of the greats played, and Calvin Murphy scored 60 points, and Frank Layden and all those guys came through, but that they have modernized as much as they can, and that downstairs. How does that help you with recruiting, and as you go out, what are you selling about Niagara University?
I think it's going to help us a lot. We've had a few kids on campus so far, a couple of people that are looking to commit maybe pretty soon for us, and they're just really impressed with the family atmosphere, the warmth that they feel when they come on campus. That is what we're selling. It's a beautiful campus. You've been up there, everyone's been up there taking that Western New York swing, but the biggest part about it is the family, and everybody wants to feel like they're a part of a family, and that's what we've sold, to these recruits and parents, and they're really excited about what's to come.